The parable is called The Kind Mentor. A young Riast, young in years, but wise in spirit, sat in a small cafe, inhaling the delicate aroma of herbal tea. His simple robe barely touched the floor, and his hands warmed against the cup resting on the table. It was the first week of Lent, and he was fasting strictly, as was required. So he allowed himself only water, a bit of mountain herb infusion, and a slice of wheat bread. The world around him was bustling. Waiters hurried between tables. Pedestrians rushed past the windows. The evening chill wrapped around the city. But the priest was calm. His heart was warmed by prayer, and then, something caught his attention. A scene that disrupted the quiet flow of his thoughts. At a nearby table sat a young parishioner, enjoying his meal. And not the kind of meal one should have during the first week of Lent. The rich aroma of the dish gave him away. The priest's gaze lingered on the young man. He knew him, had seen him in church. Their eyes had met before. But now, it was clear, the temptations of the world had won him over. The young man noticed the priest's look. Yet he did not turn away. Instead, he smiled and greeted him. "I hope I haven't shocked you, Father." The priest smiled gently in return. He studied the young man for a moment, then said softly, "I suppose you simply forgot that today is a day of fasting and restraint." No, I remember perfectly well." "Then perhaps you are ill. Sometimes doctors forbid strict fasting." "Not at all, Father. I feel just fine." The priest was silent for a moment. He could have rebuked him, could have called out his weakness, his indifference. But what good would that do? Reproach only builds defense. But love, and humility, can awaken the conscience. He whispered a short prayer. Then looking up to heaven, he gently said, "What a fine example the younger generation sets for us." And after a pause, he added, "Glory to you, O God." This young man would rather admit his fault than tell a lie. The young man froze. He had expected anger, condemnation. Instead, he received a blessing. Looking into the eyes of his kind mentor, he suddenly understood. Before him stood not a judge. Before him stood a father. A father who loved him, no matter what. His heart pounded. He set down his utensils, clasped his hands together, and whispered, "Forgive me, Father." The priest only smiled. The God forgives all who come to him, with an open and loving heart. And on that cold March evening, one man left the cafe no longer the same as when he had entered. Perhaps, from that very moment, his journey of faith had begun.